After my trips to Europe, I sort of realized that in America, we sort of glorify, productivity, while in Europe, they value more presence, living in the moment. And it's kind of funny that the more that I've come to realize how much we sort of value hustle culture in America, and as you can see in the news and media, if you've been paying attention, they're looking more towards, replacing a lot of jobs with AI, which is seeming more inevitable as the days go by. I mean, even I'm looking into how AI could help me, help with my production and all that. I'm looking into how to make workflows and all that stuff, automatic triggers and all that. And that probably sounds Greek to you, in a sense, because if you haven't been paying attention. But when you go to Europe, you feel the more balanced lifestyle that is presented to you. And growing up as a kid, this was something that I always thought, like or expected more, like as a culture in Europe and other countries, is that difference of lifestyle, that hustle culture that we always experience in America, where we're always working. It obviously it has worn us all down, or not all of us. Some people probably embrace it. Some people thrive in the work culture and office life and 9 to 5 and working all the time. But when you visit Europe and when you're traveling, these are the things that you sort of get to take a break from. And this video is sort of my way of getting you guys to lighten up a bit on yourselves, but at the same time put a bit of a battery in your back. Because life right now, it does feel hard. And it does get difficult at sometimes. And it's sort of manufactured to be that way. When you travel into Europe, you realize, a lot of the things that we have in America, all the things that we've made up in society are certainly made up and made by ourselves. So obviously, you start to realize it was made to make us feel, down on ourselves. But I sort of want to be on this undemoralization campaign. I know that's like a big word, and I think I made it up on my walk here. But, life has demoralized us, and I'm on my way to undemoralize, But at the same time, put the battery in your back, because I also realize being a coach, or I'm not a coach yet, but if I'm trying to build skills on being a coach, you do have to be a little hard on your students. So let's be hard for a second. When you see the things like AI replacing your jobs, when you see things like that, you want to learn enough about your enemy in order to, handle that. You want to manhandle it yourself. And that's why it's very important to constantly be learning. And I always make it a value of mine to stay humble and learn from the enemy. And learn what tools that these people are given to you that you can use to your advantage. Now, to make this idea more relevant to my channel, because this is a travel channel, and in a future video, I'm gonna give you guys more of a visual by going into the more wealthy neighborhoods of New York City, because when I see success, I do get, that battery in my back and that drive to put myself in that position. So if there's people like me out there that are watching this video, maybe you guys will also take the same takeaway. Plus, you'll get to see a nice little walk through NYC. And I don't know how often you guys get to see videos of NYC, but it's usually a good time. But when I take you guys on that walk, I want you guys to visualize yourself in that position, and not be completely down and doom and gloom and be depressed by the idea that there could be some sort of looming future presence to replace your life. Because your job isn't your life. And I think people in America like to sort of blur the lines between your working life and your real life. You sort of work at these 9 to 5 jobs so long that you sort of think your job is your person, and you don't want to lose that sense of self when you're working for a chunk of your life. You spend a big chunk of your life working, putting your life towards someone else, while you could be putting that time into bettering yourself, because at the end of the day, that's who's going to be living with you your whole life, yourself, not your boss, not your manager, and whoever you decide to put your time towards in your own life. That your boss doesn't, they're not your friend. They don't actually know you, because you have to present someone who's not yourself at your job. And when you're not being yourself, you lose yourself. And that's the thing that happens to a lot of Americans, and that's why I dislike the hustle culture in America, is because when you're hustling, you're not yourself. And that's why when I attempted to make my passion of dance, my career, that's when I started to dislike dance. That's why I started to, dislike my passions. And that's why I went on to start on a new path and recreate myself in a sense. Because for most of my life, I was a dancer. And I was doing ballet dance, and I was doing what I thought I loved. And I did love it at the time, but as you grow and you live your life more, you start to change. You start to see different things that you want to put yourself in the position of. And that's what traveling into Europe did for me. Was when I saw this different lifestyle, I was like, I could really get used to this life. When before I traveled into Europe, the only thing that I saw was America, and the only thing I saw was hustle. You think that this is all your life is going to live up to. And I think that's why most Americans, or a lot of Americans, are, demoralized in the way that they are. And that's why in America, the depression rates are as high as ever. As we start to advance in society, humans become sadder. And how much is it going to kill them once AI is in implementation and like AI starts coming for jobs? You start to think about things like that. I saw a video of, I don't know if it was a Tesla bot, but it was like some robot dancing. It was like dancing like a dancer, like a human dancer. The way that I used to train my whole life, they programmed a robot to dance like that. And I don't know if there's an audience for that specifically. Are there going to be a lot of people that want to see robots dancing? Something that doesn't really take skill for a robot to do, because they're not putting that human factor into it, that difficulty factor. I think the big lure of dance when you're watching a performance is there is a chance that human can fail. There is that narrative that there could be a mistake made by this human. And once you see that person perfecting every single movement to the best of their ability, that's what drives people to watch shows like that. That human element. And that's going to be what makes you stick out from the rest. The human element, your self element, that's going to push you through whatever trials and tribulations that you come across. And I'm getting rained on, so I probably should look into cutting this video off. And I didn't bring an umbrella, so that kind of sucks. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys get a takeaway from this video that I intended to. And look forward to a video where we're walking into New York's richest neighborhoods. or one of them. We'll see what happens. But if you guys like this content, please leave a like on the video. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. And if you guys have some commentary that you want to add to this conversation, please feel free to leave a comment below. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good day. See you guys later.